Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, how are you?
A little bit under weather. Whew.
Really? Sorry.
It's okay. How are you?
Good, good, good.
Good.
You're in Texas, right,
Yeah.
Anna? How's the weather in Texas?
Well, it's warming up. It's 70 degrees right now.
Uh, not us. Boy, it's still in the 20s here.
Oh my goodness. That's awful.
But it's supposed to get nicer over the weekend. It's supposed to get into 50 degrees or something.
Yeah.
So,
Good. But they're saying another storm's coming your way. I hope
yeah.
not.
Yeah. Where in Texas are you? Near what town?
Fort Worth.
Oh, okay. Okay. I've been there. Yep. 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 I went through Texas last year. I drove through. I went through El Paso.
Mhm.
Nah, not crazy about El Paso.
No, not
I
really.
like I liked Fort Worth, Dallas. I love those places. El Paso, nah, not so much. Hey Sal, how are you?
I'm doing okay, thank you. Just went through last week's. I'm sorry, the other day's class. It was a
Okay.
pretty good class. I'm sorry I missed it, but I'm
Okay,
caught
no
up.
problem. Yeah, no
Great.
problem, no problem. All right, we'll give everybody just a few more minutes to sign on. Hi Howard. Hi Peter. Somebody had asked me about radios, um, and you can get an inexpensive radio to start off with, and this will do 2 meters 70 centimeters. This one here, um, oh, and this is 5 watts. You make an 8 watt for a little bit more money, but anyway, it's pretty popular. It works well, and there's a million accessories you can buy for it. So,
It's on Amazon? Wow.
yeah, and there's a bunch on eBay too. But anyway, this is a pretty neat radio.
What's the keyword you're using?
Baofeng, Baofeng, UV5R. I own several of these, and for $25, if you get it wet or something, throw it away, get another one. But anyway, this one works well, and it's pretty easy to program. And there's a free program you can get called Chirp, and you can get the programming cable with it.
Cool.
And I think so there's a programming cable. You don't need the antenna. The antenna is fine, but you can get the programming cable for I don't know $20 or something.
Not
and
bad.
you can use Chirp. There we go, and go to Chirp, and so this it supports all these different radios. It's free, and you can just program it on your computer.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's pretty cool.
Thank you.
No problem. And I think for to start off with, this works fine, and you're always going to use this. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. So They have different flavors of it. This one's got, all right, so this comes with the cable, with a car adapter and a microphone for, I don't know, whatever.
You know what?
For $38.
If you remember, send me that link.
Sure.
Thanks.
No problem. And this has everything you need, and it's $38.
That's a good price.
Yeah. All right. And then, of course, you can get crazy and all sorts of stuff.
Unless my husband can put up an antenna, then I don't know.
Yeah. You can get a FT 991. So these are 100 watts. So these put out 100 watts, and they, they're a little bit more intense, but they basically run the same thing. So anyway.
Awesome.
All right. Let me get this over to you. Let me get this over here. Okay, I sent you the link for the radio and for Chirp, and you can consider that as you wish.
Thanks,
okay.
Joe.
No problem. All right, so chapter 8. So we only have 2 more chapters to go, and then I want to go over the study sheet, make sure you understand everything that's there. So operating procedures. Okay, so when you get your license, it comes in 2 points. It's a station license, and it's also your license to control operator. And you have to stay within your designated frequency range, and that kind of stuff. The license is good for 10 years, as we said the last time, okay? Now, here's the thing. So Jana gets her license as a technician, or she doesn't get her license, no, but she gets her license as a technician. And she comes and visit me, okay? As long as I'm supervising her, okay, so in the same room watching her operate the radio, she has my privileges, okay? So she can use amateur extra privileges. As soon as I walk out the door, okay, she has to immediately cease her privileges, extra privileges, and she goes back to a technician, okay? Same thing if somebody doesn't have a license, comes in to visit, he wants to try it out. As long as I'm there supervising, they have my class license.
Ugh.
Getting some feedback from somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is the station identified by the operator's license or by the owner of the unit's license?
Okay, so the station license is for that station. So my station license is W2BMP, okay? Now, it's not really used, so I don't identify the station unless it's a repeater, okay? And I'm getting somebody's Audio. All right, we're gonna try
I
this.
think it's Peters.
Okay.
Stop now.
All right, that's Gary. Okay. Thank you. No, that wasn't Gary. Okay. Thank you. Anyway, the repeater, for example, so a station that is operated as a repeater would have that station license. All right, let's see who that is. Okay. Anyway, but your license is usually the same thing, same call sign, okay? And then you can go from station to station. So very, very technically, you should identify the station, and then you should identify yourself every 10 minutes. But nobody does that. So normally it's just your license. Okay. So my call, W2BMP. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So that's it. That's all you need to know. You must identify every 10 minutes. Okay. And you need to remember that. So it's every 10 minutes. So on a repeater, you'll hear a ka-chunk signal. And let's see if I can activate that here. All right. All right. So I'm going to just activate transmit, and then you'll hear a ka-chunk from the repeater. Okay, everybody heard that beep? So that's ka-chunk. Okay. So you know you're on a repeater when you hear that ka-chunk. So you need three things. So you need the transmit, you need the receive frequency. You need the receive frequency, and that's the offset, right? And then you need the CTCSS key, all right, to activate a repeater. All right. All right, cool. Tactical call signs. We explained that to you. If you're running like the marathon or something like that, net control, the person who's running it will give you your tactical, that's, you'll say it's waypoint 5 or first aid station or wherever you happen to be. You don't need to use your FCC call sign, okay? All right, cool. All right.
Question.
And, yes.
So in an event, there is no use of the call sign at all, or just on initiating the system?
Normally the way it works in reality is, for example, we do answer walk, we do the marathon. When we first start up in the morning, we'll identify to net control. I'll say W2BMP, checking in. And then net control will turn around and say to me, okay, your tactical call is station 5. And from that moment on, I identify as station 5. Okay?
Yeah. So when someone takes over from you at station 5, they would identify their individual
call sign. Yeah, correct.
Call sign,
yeah,
yes.
They'll take over and they'll say W2 CTG station 5. And net control will acknowledge that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. Interference. Interference, 2 types. QRM, M is in Mary for man-made, and QRN for natural interference. So when you're talking to somebody, you'll say W2BMP, W2CTG, I'm getting QRM. So it's man-made interference. Somebody's accidentally or whatever on the frequency, or I'll say QRN. These are important to know because they will be on the test, okay? So QRN, okay, and QRM, okay? So they make it a point to put it on every exam. That will be definitely one of the questions, okay? All right, so what we can transmit. okay, we can transmit anything except music, okay? And music, we can only transmit if it's done upon request to the International Space Station, okay? Sometimes if you do work the satellites in the International Space Station, one of the astronauts will say, can you transmit whatever, whatever, a Beatles song or whatever, and then you can transmit music, okay? But that's it, so no music otherwise, all right?
Okay.
All right, cool. So the receiver's ability to receive a signal is called sensitivity, okay? That's pretty common sense. And that's about it, I think. Also, when you transmit on any amateur radio device, even the little handhelds I just showed you, you must have it hooked up to either the antenna or a dummy load. And the reason is you're now transmitting, and the power from the radio has to go someplace. And if there's no device, either the antenna or a dummy load, you will blow the output circuit. You will absolutely fry it, okay? So always make sure that you're hooked up to an antenna or a dummy load, all right? And those available on, the dummy loads are available on Amazon or one of the radio stores or whatever, okay? All right, cool. Third party, you can take a message, all right, from a third party and send it to another ham radio operator, and that ham radio operator will then send it to the recipient. And that's called third party traffic, okay? Ham radio operators are not considered parties of the message, okay? They're just a mechanism by which messages are sent. All right. Okay. And then we talked about all the countries, the third-party agreements, and one of the questions will be, what foreign country can you transmit? And the answer is any country with a third-party. Any country with a third-party agreement. Okay. And that third-party agreement covers just about every country, with the exception of North Korea currently. Okay.
Are you on a class?
All right, cool.
I'm on.
So let's talk about remote and automatic operation, okay? Local control, all right, that's this here. And that's a radio that's controlled at your location where you are, okay? You can do remote operation, so you can sign up on the web for, and then, you know, there's a fee attached to it, but you can sign up on the web and activate radios that are located someplace else, Duluth, Minnesota, or wherever, and that's called remote operation, okay? Because we're operating the radio remotely, all right? And automatic operation is a repeater, okay? That's the easiest one. Beacons, that kind of stuff. Space station is an automatic operation. APRS, those are all automatic operations. You don't need anybody on site, and they relay the signal. Okay? So the question will be, automatic operation, a repeater is a type of, and then they give you 4 choices, and one of the choices is automatic operation. Okay? All right. Okay. Nah, not important. All right. Prohibited transmissions. So what's prohibited? So you have to identify, you must identify your call, absolutely required. Nothing false or deceptive, nothing encoded, okay? No, nothing obscene or indecent, okay? So those are, you know, just common sense items, and you can't send a false distress, okay? So that's totally prohibited. You can't do business on amateur radio. Okay? So there's no business communications. There are business bands close to amateur radio, but that's on different frequencies altogether. Okay?
Can we go back to that last thing you said,
Sure.
where it said the question was, if something did happen that wasn't supposed to happen, what are you supposed to do?
That's a great question. That's an awesome question. If it's just, a one-time thing, and go have a cup of coffee, and just let it go. It happens very rarely. You do get people that, abuse amateur radio, and if it persists, you should report it to the FCC. Okay, so you can very politely ask whoever it is to please stop transmitting, but it's really up to the FCC to enforce this. Okay, and they actually do a pretty decent job. All right. Okay. All right. So they give you examples of what's allowed and what's not allowed. Okay. So yeah. All right. Anyway. Let's see here. Encrypted transmissions are not allowed. Okay. It's a public form of communication. So encoding or, somehow encrypting the message is considered deception. So can't do that. All right.
Next
All right.
question.
Yes, sir.
Since this is also being used in terms of like through computers or this, that, and the other, where a particular coding system is being used, they simply have to be generally accepted code.
Yeah. I think you're talking about digital modes. So
yeah, digital modes.
Yeah, in digital modes, there is, well, it's not really encrypted. It's a protocol that's used. Okay, but I can intercept anything in digital mode. Okay, so that's not really considered encryption. Encryption is, where we come up with a dictionary of one word means something else. That kind of stuff. So because there's no range limit on amateur radio, I think that's a carryover from the Cold War or something. They don't want you encrypting messages, but all right. Yeah, but digital modes are exempt. Well, not exempt. They don't qualify because you can decode. Anybody can decode digital messages, and there's a million different protocols that are used. But that's a good question. All right. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. Non-hams broadcasting. That's inaccurate. One-way transmissions. That's fine. All right. And these are just general questions. I have never seen these on any tests. Okay, but it goes into broadcasting, music, and just for your general knowledge. I wouldn't worry about it too much. All right. Any questions on any of this? Okay.
No.
Chapter 9. All right. Electrical safety. All right. And this is important because if you get into it and you and as you progress in the hobby, you're going to want to put up antennas. And the only dangerous part about this hobby is this putting up of antennas. Okay, people just don't use their common sense. Okay, so when you're putting up your antenna, you want to be very, very, very careful. Okay, so in this chart, they go through the effects of electric current in the human body, and it's important that you see this. and that you understand this. So when you put up your antenna, you want to stay away from high voltage wires. You want to stay away from those things that are on the poles, from the power company, which are capacitors, transformers. You want to just stay away from them, okay? Because you don't need a lot of amperage to kill you, okay? So 50 to 150 milliamperes, so millions of amperes, is enough to kill you, okay? Capacitors will absolutely kill you, okay, if you're not careful, okay? They store a tremendous amount of energy. Transformers, that kind of stuff. So please, please, please be careful with that. And believe it or not, 2 years ago, father and son got their license. They went to put up an antenna, and they accidentally hit a pole, a power pole, and they were both killed. Okay, so it absolutely happens. All right, so please use extreme caution. Okay, and they talk about, again, not on the test, but remove unnecessary jewelry, you know, and just use extreme caution when putting up your antenna. All right, cool. All right, and they talk about ground. All right, so grounding is extremely important, and it's usually the green wire that's the ground. And make sure that you ground all of your equipment, and you also ground your antenna, okay? Which is normally connected. So when it comes through, there's a connection for ground, and then a connection that goes in the back of the radio, or just back to the radio, but make sure that the radio is absolutely grounded, okay? So very important, all right? And then they go into the sizes of wires that you can use, and maximum allowable current, all right? And again, not on the test, but just stuff you should know, okay? Lightning protectors, remember that antennas, by their very definition, are default lightning rods, and lightning is attracted to them. So make sure you have some kind of lightning arrestor on your antenna if it's a permanent big antenna at your home. Okay. All right. RF. All right. So anyway, so this is before we get to RF. So this is the ideal situation. This is a grounding pipe. Okay, and everything is grounded. It doesn't always happen this way in reality, okay? So, but one of the tests may be, one of the test questions may be, how do you make sure that you're meeting electrical standards? The answer is all equipment is attached to a common ground. And that's this strap here, this common ground, all right? So they want your antenna switch, the keyer, the computer, the transceiver, all attached to a common ground. Okay.
This is above and beyond the electrical ground of the AC system.
Yeah. In an ideal world, yes, this is the way you do it. Okay. If you guys have a chance to participate in Field Day, which I think you should do, all right, because it's a hoot and a half. And it's the last weekend in June. You'll see when they put up antennas, they very seriously put grounds, you know, stakes ground into the ground, and they attach the equipment this way. So grounding is very, very important. Okay. It also makes your signal a lot nicer too. Okay. All right. Use short wire connectors. Okay. Solid strap is best, okay, because it presents the lowest impedance to radio frequencies, okay. Keep all connection straps and wires as short and as direct as possible. All right. Okay. All right. And now let's talk about interference. It doesn't happen too much anymore. Okay. But there was a time when people had a lot of wireless phones at the house, and your next door neighbor or whatever is a ham radio operator. He would hit transmit, and it would freak out your phone.
Oh yeah.
Not as popular anymore because most people use cellular. Okay.
Mm.
And what they came up with is this low pass filter. All right. Here or here. Okay. And most people don't use antennas anymore in that frequency range. They either use HD antennas or cable is much more popular. But anyway, so if somebody complains, there's things you can do. You can attach this low pass filter that comes with the phone, or you can add a ferrite coil, which is available through Amazon for pennies. I mean, I don't even think it's $1, okay? Or you can add a low pass transmitting filter on your radio. Not really used too much anymore, but possible, okay? Now that's all you need to know about that. And then these are the RF busters, and these are these guys here, and this is what they look like. So they're just coils. I'm sure everything you've bought comes with one of these, and you've thrown it out, okay? And it goes on the power cord to clean up the power, all right? On older RF signals, it is possible to interfere. In the basement of my house, I have a piece of furniture where you just touch one of the hinges and this little light goes on to display what's inside. Well, every time I transmit on HF, that sucker goes off, okay? Just goes off, goes on, goes off, all right? But that's very rare, all right? And the way around it is I put this ferrite core on it, and it straightened out the mess, okay? So it's no longer a problem. All right, cool. And they're called RF chokes, okay? And they're made of ferrite material, just stuff that you should know. All right, anyway, and I think that question does appear on the exam, I think on one of the exams. So when you go for your exam, there'll be 3 different technical exams with 3 different sets of questions. And one of them does have this: in case of RF interference, what do you use? And the answer is you use an RF choke, all right? Or a ferrite choke, all right? Okay, all right, and the high pass filter, again, you can use that for FM reception and TV receivers, although most people have cable or satellite or, something like that. And FM, not so much. It doesn't really interfere so much anymore, okay? But you can use, that's what you use a high pass filter for. All right. All right. Wire. I think we talked about wire, and we should use shielded wire, 50 ohm. Okay, it looks like the Cablevision cable, but that's 75 ohm. We use 50 ohm. All right, and that works pretty well. You can use other type of wire if you like, but 50 ohm coax is the most popular. All right. Okay. So what do you do if you're interfering? You got to start doing a little diagnosis here and working with your neighbor and saying, okay, I'm going to try this. And does that cause a problem? And then you'll identify what band is causing the problem, under what circumstances, and then you can use a filter either at their end or your end to resolve the issue. Okay. All right, cool. All right, this is a part 15, not on the exam, okay, But Part 15 is things like cordless phones for your house, that kind of stuff. So those are Part 15 devices, and they don't require a license. Okay. RF exposure. So on the first night of the class, I told you that that this is non-ionized radiation. Okay. So when we hit the transmit button, this works as it transmits a signal. Even though it's non-ionized, okay, you want to be careful with it, all right? Especially if you're talking on, a base station and the antenna's close by, all right? And they have a thing called MPE, which is the maximum permissible exposure. As soon as I find my mouse, wherever that is. Let's see. All right, here we go. So this guy here, maximum permissible exposure. And that varies gigantically, okay, with the band that you're on, the amount of power you're putting through the system, and how close you are to the antenna, all right? So you want to be really careful with this, all right? So I think, and how much power is being put as called its power density. So obviously if I'm on a 1 watt machine transmitting, my MPE is much greater on that 1 watt machine as opposed to standing next to a 100 watt or a 200 watt base station, okay? And this is the maximum permissible exposure limits. Again, you don't need to know this stuff for the exam. Just know that there is an MPE, okay? So you want to be careful with that, okay? All right. Let's see. So we want to keep strangers and kids and stuff away from the antenna, okay? And this is another table, 9.4, is how much power is necessary for you to be worried about MPE, all right? So you can see that on 2 meter, 50 watts, and on 70 centimeter, 70 watts. Then you have to be a little bit careful, okay? Now, in a practical perspective, okay, I have a 2-story house, and I have a giant 2 meter antenna on the roof of my house, and I am on the top floor, and I transmit with it all day long. It's not an issue. I do limit how much power I put through. I'm at about half of this. So on 2 meters, I'm transmitting at 25 watts, and at 70 centimeters, I'm usually at about 30 watts. All right. But, we've been on them for years and years and years, my wife and I, and my son, and we don't have any problem. Okay. So I just want you to be aware that there is an issue, with maximum permissible exposure. So here's the deal: the antenna, keep people away, that kind of stuff. All right.
Question. Pacemakers, any issues with those with any of the frequencies we're going to be working with?
No, not at all. Not at all. No. The only time it becomes a problem is when you use things like a magnetometer, which is in microwaves. Then it becomes an issue, okay? But in ham radio, not at all. Not at all. Has never been a reported case. That's an excellent question. I should have mentioned that. Okay, anyway, so just be careful, especially if you're going to be on it, all day, and you have people nearby, just use your judgment, all right? Okay, cool. And then they talk about duty cycle, okay? So this is the duty cycle for most common things. All right. So your machine, no matter what radio you buy, whether it's the $38 Baofeng or the $13,000 Yaesu, okay, was never designed for 100% duty cycle. 100% means you're on it all the time, transmitting constantly, constantly, constantly. It's not designed for that. Okay. So normally you're only transmitting a very, very little amount of time during the day, because a lot of it is listening, right? Okay, so you know, that's known as the duty cycle. All right, and then they go into this formula, which you don't need to know at all, and then you go into peak envelope power times the operating duty cycle, and just don't worry about it. Okay, it's not on the test, not at all. Okay, antenna gain. That's that dB thing that we talked about, okay? And it's the additional power that you either gain or lose at the antenna, all right? And that's tied into your SWR and all of that stuff, all right? So antenna gain is important. All right, cool. So RF exposure evaluation, you want to be careful, okay? If you notice something happening, you develop a rash or the dog freaks out or something like that, something is wrong, okay? And then you want to start doing some diagnostics to figure out what's going on, okay? All right, cool. Mechanical safeties, again, I cannot stress to you enough, please be careful with power lines, please be careful with transformers, please be careful with trees, all right? We don't want any wires running through the trees. Again, if you were to run a line through this tree, okay, and it also has power lines, guess what? This tree acts as a giant conductor, all right? And there is power coming out of this antenna wire. So if you put up a dipole antenna, all right, and you hit the transmit button and you're holding on to that dipole, you will know that there is power going through that, okay? It will knock you on your butt, no question, all right? So again, you want to be careful with trees and power lines and that kind of stuff, all right? Very, very important. All right, and this is the official ARRL ensemble for hanging wires or putting up antennas. I think it looks smashing. I think it's just fantastic. Okay, and that's enough that I'll say about that. Okay, I have yet to meet somebody who would get dressed up like this. Hey, you know, what can I tell you? All right. Well, the question I didn't get in this class was, how come we took this manual? Because these are the guys giving you the test. Okay. So there's a million different manuals for this. I use the ARRL manual because these are the guys giving you the test. Hold on one second. Really? Can we go to 805? What's the frequency? 446 805? Keely? Yeah. All right. Hold on. All right, Dana. Jana, you're on. So I'm on a repeater. Okay. And I want to call my wife. So my call sign is W2BMP and my wife is W2CTG. Okay, you tell me what I'm going to say. What do I say? I'm on a repeater. So repeater means what? No CQ, right? No CQ,
right.
CQ.
You will call her call sign first, and then you identify yourself.
All right. So I'm going to say W2CTG. This is W2BMP, right?
Right.
All right. Let's see if that works. W2CTG, W2BMP. That's the repeater identifying. That's the station identifier.
W2BMP, this is Whiskey 2 Charlie Tango Golf.
Thanks, Celia. I was given a demo and just wanted to see how that worked. So thanks a lot, Celia. W2 BMP, we're clear. Excellent.
Roger, Whiskey 2 Charlie Tango Golf, I'm clear.
Okay, that's excellent. All right,
Mm.
let's see. Let's try, see if we can interrupt somebody. That's a Morse code identifier for another repeater that's local. No, nobody's on. All right, anyway, I'll check to see if somebody's on a little bit later. All right, anyway, so that's the procedure. Everybody got that? So when we're on a repeater, we don't use CQ, okay? CQ means, Gary, what does CQ mean? I forget.
Just calling anybody.
Yeah, I want to talk to anybody, okay? So we're not going to use CQ. We'll call the station that we're trying to reach, and we identify with our call sign, all right? All right, cool. So on this page, they talk about you're going to hang this gigantic antenna, safety instructions, double check all climbing belts, blah, 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 rope, hardware, all that kind of stuff, okay? I mean, it's important. I don't want to minimize it, okay? But safety instructions. All right, cool. Mobile installations. There will be a question on this, okay? So one of the questions is on a 100-watt transceiver, all right? Not the little ones, but the big 100-watt. Why don't you plug it into the cigarette lighter?
There's too much amperage.
That's right. That's right. It draws too much amperage, and you'll blow the circuit. If you're lucky, you'll blow the fuse, and if you're not lucky, you'll blow the whole circuit for the cigarette lighter. So for mobile installations, they want you to connect the radio directly to the battery. That's for a big radio, all right? For the Baofungs that only put out 5 watts, cigarette lighter's just fine, okay? All right, cool. And that is it, all right? And what I want to do, so chapter 10 is the glossary of all the definitions of things, and then the actual questions are, all the possible questions are in the back of the book, all right? Again, my strong suggestion to you is that we refer to this thing, okay, which I sent you the first day, okay? If you know this, you will pass the test, okay? And I couldn't make it any clearer, all right? So this stuff you know, all right? Let's go into the Q signals, you know, QRN, QRM, QTH is home, right? SWR, you know about that. Technician class, so this is the stuff where you're allowed. I don't remember seeing an exam question on where your exact privileges are, okay? I did see a question on 2 meters. What is that? Okay. And what is 70 centimeters? Only from the perspective of, it'll say you're on 430.255. What band are you on? And the answer is 70 centimeters. And we should all know that upside down and backwards. Okay. So that's the question number there. All right. Bands are 300 over the frequency in megahertz. Okay. And valid call signs start with A, K, N, or W. Okay. And contain at least 1 digit. All right. All right. Cool. The FCC is the organization that monitors, licenses, and regulates amateur radio, and the ITU organizes the radio operations internationally. Okay. All right, so this is the meat of it. This is the stuff you need to know. License period, 10 years, 2-year grace period. Okay. Local, remote, and automatic control of transmitters, we just discussed, right? So we know that. All right. A club, a radio club, must have at least 4 members. Absolutely a question on the test. Okay. We identify every 10 minutes. Okay. Good amateur practice. You use minimum power to make sure that the conversation takes place. All right. So that's the criteria. All right. So we use whatever that minimum power to get through is. That's what we use. All right. No broadcasting, no music transmissions, no codes, no ciphers, no swearing, etc. No business, that kind of stuff. Okay. Filters. Sparse harmonics are your problem. They require low pass filters. RF fundamental, their problem. That's the ferrite scopes at a TV receiver or FM receiver. Again, not that it's used much anymore, but it could happen. All right. Separation, 2-meter band, 600 kilohertz, 70 centimeters, 5 megahertz. Okay. Bandwidth. The question will be, what uses the lowest amount of bandwidth? And the answer is CW at 150 hertz. Okay. This one we know, upside down and backwards, right? I strongly suggest that you draw the circle on the scrap paper, and this will not be a problem. This should be super easy. Okay. All right. Cool. Conversions. Okay. We kind of need to memorize that. All right. Again, kilo, mega, micro, milli, pico, nano, not really used that much, but all right. Anyway, voice frequencies. So this is the range. So it's from 300 to 3000 hertz, and radio waves are greater than 20,000 hertz. All right. Measuring frequencies. Frequencies is measured in hertz, current in amperes, electromotive force is in volts, resistance is its ohms, power is in watts. Okay. All right, cool. And radio modes, AM, which is amplitude modulation. So how much power is in that signal. Single sideband, we use it because it's more efficient. All right. A product detector is used for a single sideband and CW reception, and a discriminator is used for FM. Okay. FM antennas can be vertically polarized. So if you have it set up vertically, the polarization will be vertical, or if you set it up sideways, it'll be horizontal. Okay. Upper sideband is used above 10 megahertz. CTCSS is a sub-audible tone to unmute the receiver on repeaters. Okay. QRM, we know. QRN, we know. QSY, change frequencies. QTH, current home. Those are the only ones you really need to know for the exam. And I've only seen QSY once. Okay. These are the Q codes you definitely need to know. Okay. CQ means calling any station. Respond with the station call sign. This is your call sign. Emergency communications. RACES only serves government agencies, and ARIES serves government and other groups. Okay. So the big differentiation is RACES only serves the government, ARIES serves the government and other groups such as the American Cancer Society, here on Long Island, the Marathon. So we serve other groups. Okay. Messages contain the name of the sender in the preamble. Okay. and no more than 25 words are used. Okay? This is really important. There will be a question on this. Okay? But the only thing you need to know is 3 dB doubles, okay? 6 dB quadruple, and 10 dB is tenfold increase. Okay? All right. And then I know we know this, right? So inductors store energy in a magnetic field, capacitors store energy in an electric field. Okay? A bipolar transistor has an emitter, and this is the question that's always on the exam. A field effect transistor has a gate. So how do we get to the field? We go through the gate. Remember that. Okay? All right. SWR 1.1 is perfect, and 2.1 the machine automatically starts to reduce power output.
Now, isn't that one reversed as it's
What?
written?
What's that?
2 point. Isn't the isn't it supposed to be 1 to 2, not 2 to 1?
No, normally it's the power going to leaving the radio. So it's the power leaving the radio to the power measured at the antenna. So this is the antenna, and this is the power leaving the radio. Okay. Now that I told you the first day, a lot of the stuff is not absolutely accurately 100%, but that's close enough. If you walk away with that, that'll serve you well until we go for the general exam. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Antenna types: half-wave dipole, quarter wave vertical, wavelength in meters. Again, 300 over the frequency in megahertz. Everybody knows this, right? And last class, I went through. I actually took the diagrams that are on the test. Everybody seemed to know it. Okay. So just know these. These are the ones you need to know. Okay. Okay. So HF, 3 to 30 megahertz. VHF, 30 to 300 megahertz. UHF, 300 to 3,000 megahertz. Okay. All right. And that is it. Receiver functions, they might ask you a question on RIT. We know that that's fine tuning, receiver incremental tuning. Squelch, it mutes the receiver, and VFO changes the operating frequency. And that, folks, is it. All right. Now, for the people that are taking the Red Cross, do it for Red Cross, I will send you out. I'm going to send it out to the entire class because I don't know who is Red Cross and who isn't. We're setting up a VE session at the end of March, not next week, but the week after, I believe on a Saturday at Red Cross headquarters in Mineola.
Red Cross has a major event that weekend in the city.
Okay. Okay. I'm not the one setting it up.
Okay, we'll beat up Mike.
Yeah, it'd be Mike. Yeah, it's up to Mike, and he's going to let me know wherever that is, and I will notify the entire class as to the time and place for that. Other than that, does everybody else know how to get to, how to figure out where to take the test?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, why didn't you ask? Okay. All right. We're going to go to the, we'll go to the ARRL.org site. Okay. And then we're going to go to licensing. And then we're going to go to somewhere in here. Here, getting licensed. And then find an amateur license session. Okay. And then you put in your zip code. And you put in your zip code and you hit search. and it'll tell you where the exam sessions are. So these are all the exam sessions available in my area. Okay.
Yeah, I tried finding something close to Fort Worth, but I'm afraid they had nothing. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird.
What's your zip? What's your zip code?
76123.
76123.
They had it in Richardson, I think.
Let's see.
I'm like, okay, that's not really close.
Nope.
7-6. Oh, you're in Texas? Is that where you are?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Here, there's some in Fort Worth. And then Weatherford. I don't know if any of these are close to you.
How did you get to this page?
Okay. So I went to, and I just put in your zip. I went to search for exam radio, and then I put in your zip, and I hit search.
Oh, interesting. It didn't show when I did it. That's why I'm confused.
Yeah.
Cool.
But anyway, so there's exam sessions there.
We'll figure it out. Thanks, Joe.
All right, no problem. All right, any questions on any of this stuff? Are we all good? And we're fine. You have my email. If you have a question, don't hesitate to shoot me an email, and I'll do my very best to answer it. All right, good
Awesome.
luck, guys.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Joe.
All right,
Thanks for
been a
everything.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. All righty, stay well.
Take care.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye, all.
All right. Bye-bye.